At this, Novak Djokovic could be barred from playing in the French Open as things stand now. After the sports ministry said on Monday, there would be no exemption from France's new vaccine pass law. World number one, Djokovic, who has not been vaccinated against COVID, was deported from Australia on Sunday before the first Grand Slam tournament of the year after losing a court case to have the cancellation of his visa overturned. It was not done. France's vaccine pass law approved by Parliament on Sunday will require people to have a certificate of vaccination to enter public spaces such as restaurants, cafes, cinemas and long-distance trains. The rule is simple. The vaccine pass will be imposed as soon as the law is promulgated in establishments that were already subject to the health pass, the ministry said. This is going to apply to everyone who is a spectator or professional sports person, and this until further notice. Now, as far as Roland Garros is concerned, it's in May. The situation may change between now and then, and we hope it would be more favourable. Serbian Djokovic, who was barred from bidding to win a record 21st Grand Slam title at the Australian Open, has refused to vaccinate and was criticised for attending public events last month after testing positive for the coronavirus. So after Australian Open, he will not be given an opportunity to be a part of the French Open, is what we are picking up, courtesy the new laws essentially. So Djokovic could be barred essentially from being a part of the French Open after he's refused vaccination. He's also been criticised extremely for not taking the vaccine and also for being COVID positive and attending a series of public events. Right now, he in fact has landed in Dubai, and we don't know where he goes from then, given that Dubai does allow those without vaccines to enter its shores, though a negative RT-PCR test essentially is required. There are many countries, in fact, who are not allowing people to enter their shores without vaccination certificates. But what we know is that right now, Novak Djokovic is not going to be possibly allowed to be a part of the French Open, and just the way he was denied, in fact, an opportunity to be a part of the Australian Open, given the Australian government's laws. And now we have, of course, the French government announcing its own laws, Nikhil, that prevents people like Novak Djokovic from entering its shores, given the concerns that we have. And vaccine passports are here, and they're here to stay, isn't it?
Well, that's right. I mean, to many, you'd have to say that this was bound to happen now that the French authorities have also made it clear that if you haven't taken your vaccination, you will not be allowed to play the French Open. Now, there is a background to it. You'd have to look at why this was to happen. Now, the entire ordeal that just played out at the Australian Open, one very important thing emerged from there, and that was what was Novak Djokovic's vaccination status. Now, that was something that wasn't known before this. Yes, he did seem to have an anti-vaccination stance. He had mentioned it in previous casual conversations as well as conversations on air. So you knew that he was reluctant to take the vaccine. You knew he had an anti-vaccination stance. What was his vaccination status wasn't known as yet. But when he had to file the affidavit in the court in Australia, when he was fighting his cancellation of the visa, that's for the first time you got to realize that he had not been vaccinated. So that was one. I think the other area of concern to have emerged out of that entire saga that played out in Australia was the attitude that Novak had towards vaccination. So one, you could be an anti-vaccination person who may not be very keen to take the vaccination, which is a personal stance. However, when the other things that were discovered, for example, when he tested positive for corona and yet was seen in public events, now that's a sort of behavior that doesn't go down well with any government as such. So these are certain things that were noted by the Australian government. It became common knowledge. It's been now known by everyone. And if you do not follow a COVID-appropriate behavior, you then pose danger for any country. So these things that have emerged out of this Australian Open saga are the ones that now is going to be taken cognizance of anywhere in the world where he travels. And that's exactly what might have happened with the French Open too.
Nicholas, thanks for getting us up to speed with those developments.